What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, folks, let's talk about some squishy Republicans right quick. I got a couple of clips to show y'all, and then we're going to get into the news. Let's talk about squishy Republicans right fast, because we have some Republicans in the Senate and in Congress, as a matter of fact, that don't clearly align themselves with the Republican Party. They don't clearly align themselves with logical agendas, if you will. A lot of the stuff that Donald Trump is doing is common sense and should be cheered, but these people are fighting against the Trump administration on many, many aspects, right? Trump doesn't do everything perfect. We all know this, right? Like the January 6 pardons, as a matter of fact. And this is on topic here. We're going to get into this. January 6 pardons. I came out and said this isn't a good thing, by the way. You know, when he first did it, I'm like, you know, the people that were violent, they don't deserve a pardon. That's only like maybe 40, 50 people at the most. Then you have the 200 people that had some sort of violence charges that were kind of caught up in the scuffle. They weren't really fighting with cops, but these are the people that were, you know, in the crowd, in the riotous crowd, that is. You know, vandalism, breaking windows, blah, 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 blah. You get it. You know, that's a different category as well, but they shouldn't have got a pardon outright. Clemency, yes. Now, Donald Trump said on the campaign trail he was going to look at all the cases, case by case. Didn't do that because there was a clear injustice going on, right? When they started looking over all these cases, they realized that most of those people were freaking railroaded. Just outright. Many, many of them were denied their due process rights, which is fascinating because, hang on just a second, the Democrats are yelling and screaming about criminal gangs getting due process, but refuse to give American citizens their due process rights, all because they back Donald Trump. They back the wrong guy. This is a major injustice, y'all. But let's talk about Tom Tillis right quick, a senator from North Carolina. He's not backing Donald Trump's pick for U.S. attorney for Washington, D.C. Check this out.
He is, I don't believe he's being advanced to the markup. I met with Mr. Martin. He seems like a good man. Most of my concerns related to January 6th, and he built a compelling case on some of the 15-12 prosecutions that were probably heat of the moment bad decisions, but where we probably have a difference is I think anybody that breached the perimeter should have been in prison for some period of time. Whether it's 30 days or 3 years is debatable, but I have no tolerance for anybody who entered the building on January the 6th, and that's probably where most of the friction was. So the difference wasn't that they should be charged, in my estimation, it's by how much. And I've indicated to the White House I wouldn't support his nomination.
Okay, so that is utter nonsense, because Ed Martin, right, as a matter of fact, he defended a few. It wasn't very many. He defended a few of the January 6 people in court. Now, when he came into office, and I imagine this is what he's talking about, they all got pardons. He was the guy that oversaw all of that, right? And Ed Martin's done a lot of things, but a bad pick for U.S. attorney is not one of these. He made a good case. This guy's talking about all of them should have been in jail 30 days or 3 years. Well, hang on, my guy. As a matter of fact, they were. All those violent people have served time in prison. There are many, many innocent people that got caught up in that. And you're denying one of Donald Trump's pick, all because he defended some people on January 6th and he oversaw Trump's agenda on this. This is utter nonsense. Then he tries to caveat it with, oh, well, he's a good man. And I think some of his arguments on 1512 are okay, which, if you didn't know, that's the, obstruction of official proceeding nonsense that was struck down by the Supreme Court. So this guy is on about nonsense that was struck down by the Supreme Court, for crying out loud. This is a problem with a lot of squishy Republicans. Well, so you might think, okay, well, what's the problem here? Like, what's going on? Okay, what is he really doing? That's the question that needs to be asked, okay? These people and their squishiness on January 6th is utter nonsense. Have they looked into all these cases? I imagine most of them haven't looked nearly as deep as I have, as a matter of fact, as a lot of you have on January 6th. I imagine they just ignored most of that. Oh, these are violent criminals, blah, blah, blah. We should lock them up and throw away the key. That's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like he's trying to appease Democrats. Why do I say that? Well, this is one of those squishy Republicans that voted for just about every one of Joe Biden's nominees. Yeah. Said Merrick Garland would make a great attorney general. How did that turn out, my guy? Not so well, did it? But we're not wanting to hang up on this all day long, although I could keep on going. As a matter of fact, screw it. You know, it's just utter nonsense to me. These squishy Republicans trying to appease a crocodile, essentially. You're trying to appease snakes. You're going to get bit. As a matter of fact, it's mind-blowing. But let's get into some of the news, because I've got a Lawrence O'Donnell clip. You know, old Lawrence. This guy, like, once again, folks, we've got a problem in this country, and it's unfortunate, and it saddens me to say that Lawrence O'Donnell has officially been diagnosed with stage 5 Trump derangement syndrome. It's terminal, y'all. It really is. It's terminal when it comes to him. But I'm going to go ahead and read the headline right quick, and then we're going to run that clip. Check this out, y'all. Ford will raise the sticker price on cars imported from Mexico. It just said it didn't expect significant U.S. price hikes. Now, we're going to get into the weeds on this one a little bit. Yeah, we're talking tariffs, and that is one of the reasons why I brought up Lawrence O'Donnell.
In a meeting with the head of an international soccer organization, no one was there to mention tariffs or Christmas or what you can afford on Christmas because of Donald Trump's tariffs. The president, who has said the stupidest things ever said in the White House about Christmas or dolls or tariffs, stumbled and bumbled his way into saying this about his visitor, the soccer guy.
He's got great enthusiasm, and that's one of the reasons that you've had such success over the last number of years that you've been there. Amazing. He's like somebody that just woke up on Christmas morning as a young child and saw those toys under the tree, and that enthusiasm really plays very well, I have to say.
Really? How many toys under the tree for him? If there's a soccer ball under the tree for that soccer-obsessed visitor in the White House, it will come with a 145% tariff on it if it actually manages to arrive in shipments from China, which have slowed down and stopped in many cases. The Trump tariffs might make it impossible for many American parents who want to have a soccer ball.
Now, I must say it, that is the most ridiculous nonsense I think I've ever heard in my entire life. And I know I always say that, but it just seems to get more and more ridiculous when it comes to Lawrence O'Donnell. What in the F is he talking about? Donald Trump's talking about the guy's enthusiasm reminds him of a 5-year-old on Christmas morning. Has nothing to actually do with Christmas or tariffs or anything like that. But what does Lawrence O'Donnell do? He immediately makes this connection where, oh, he's talking about tariffs. Nobody mentioned tariffs whatsoever. No, you're right, Lawrence O'Donnell. Only you did, because you're Trump deranged. You're obsessed with Donald Trump. Everything he does is evil orange Hitler-esque kind of nonsense going on here. And you try to whiteboard some of this stuff, and you look back and hang on, we don't have a whiteboard. Well, so what are we doing here? This is memoryonics. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, because I probably just made that up. Memoryonics. Yeah, it's kind of like historyonics, but with your memory instead of with history. These people are just so obsessed with Donald Trump that they run their lunacy into a freaking wall, it seems like. But, you know, enough talking about that deranged freaking lunatic, because I'm about to shatter his freaking world if he ever sees this video. Let's get into the actual news. Check this out, y'all. Ford is hiking the sticker prices for 3 U.S. models it imports from Mexico by up to $2,000 each, just days after executives said they didn't expect significant increases in industry-wide car prices this year. This is a fascinating article, y'all, because once again, and I only cover these articles when I have a point to prove. As a matter of fact, of course, I think you guys know that. Of course, you know, I do cover the media manipulation because, once again, people like Lawrence O'Donnell coming out and saying,
Americans know that the only money that is going to flow into the United States Treasury from tariffs will come from Americans in America and no one else. It is legally and technically impossible for tariff revenue to be paid by anyone outside of the United States. It's impossible. No tariff money has ever flowed into the United States Treasury from another country.
Now just remember what Lawrence O'Donnell told you right there, that he's telling you the utmost truth, nothing but the truth, so help him God, for crying out loud. The price increase was disclosed in a memo sent to Ford dealerships, first reported by Reuters, but confirmed by Ford. Ford said the manufacturer's suggested retail price, or MSRP, also known as the sticker price, would increase between $600 to $2,000 per vehicle, depending on the features. Ford said the price hike doesn't apply to vehicles currently on the lot, but will apply to those built after May 2nd, which start arriving at dealerships in several weeks. This is our usual mid-year pricing action combined with some tariffs we are facing, Ford spokesman said Deep told CNN. Now, I know that may sound confusing. I guess this guy's name is said Deep because that is how it is wrote out. I read the same article from 4 different outlets. That was confusing. They all said Deep. And it confused me the first time, and I'm like, well, this must be the guy's name, obviously, because all 4 corporate press outlets referred to him as said Deep, unless Deep is his last name and said is not his first name, and they are saying that that is what he said, not that said is his name. I don't know. It's confusing to me. Ford spokesman said Deep told CNN. That's the most clear that I got from any other corporate press outlets. Sorry for that little interjection or whatever, but I had to get that out there because, once again, I don't know if I'm just an idiot and it just confused the hell out of me when I first read that and they put blah, 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 said Deep. And I'm like, who's this Deep guy? They hadn't referred to his first name, so his full name must be said Deep. I'm sorry, I know I'm still going on about that. I apologize. We have not passed on the full cost of tariffs to our customers. Wait, what was that, Lawrence O'Donnell? We have not passed on the full cost of the tariffs to our customers.
That the only money that is going to flow into the United States Treasury from tariffs will come from Americans in America and no one else. It is legally and technically impossible.
Let me read that once again, just in case I didn't spell it out clearly. We have not passed on the full cost of tariffs to our customers. Our approach throughout this evolving situation continues to be doing what's right for our customers and our business. So, to everybody out there that kept telling me, you're an idiot for thinking that these companies are not going to absorb some of the tariffs, go eat some crow right now. I command you to do so. It's funny, isn't it? I wasn't just a blithering idiot on the internet, was I? This is the second admittance from a large corporation saying that they will absorb some of the tariffs. Do you really think that no other company in the world is going to absorb some of the tariffs, excluding China? Because clearly, yeah, those Chinese companies, they can't afford to absorb 145% tariff. What does that mean, folks? That means a lot of those companies are not going to sell products in the United States. This was part of the point. Get us off of cheap Chinese goods. And I don't mean like cheaply built, because China makes some really good products, folks. Look at some of their EVs. They're just insanely good, as a matter of fact. They are. They're really good, and they're cheap. But that damages our own markets. It damages the hell out of our own markets. Right? We can't be a manufacturing hub. We cannot be a net exporter. If we don't export anything, folks. And once again, and I've broken down the extraction process, we can't just continually be extracted from. A lot of people think, well, that's just how the market goes. No, I'm sorry. Like, we only make so much money, right? The government prints dollars, but that causes inflation. We don't want that. We don't want the government to have to print dollars. So what do we need to do? We need to bolster our economy, boost manufacturing, so that we can purchase imported products, in other words, right? Because if we're constantly buying, we're importing more than we export, we have more money going out than we have coming in. That's unsustainable, folks. It really is. That means we are being extracted from. Yes, I know we can do this. We're a wealthy nation, you might think. Blah, 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 blah. But eventually, we're going to run into a wall with this. Like, seriously, what is China doing with the US dollars? You might think, well, they could do anything they want to with it. Yeah, well, they can't just go around trading for US dollars. So what have they been doing, right? We don't have exports that they want to buy. Right? They don't buy our labor for any products that we make because their labor is much cheaper. So what have they been buying? They've been buying hard assets, folks. They've been buying up farmland, rent houses, you name it, right? They've been buying up hard assets. Once again, that is unsustainable. We cannot continue down this path. Something had to be done, and Donald Trump did it. And most people, they're just so Trump deranged that they can't see the forest because there's a bunch of trees in the freaking way, blinding them. They're all like John Cena and doing this, pretending we can't see them or something, I guess. Since April 3rd, imported vehicles have faced a tariff of up to 25%. Most of the major automakers import some of their U.S. vehicles from foreign plants, including those in Mexico. Ford assembles 3 U.S. models in Mexico: the Ford Mustang Mach-E electric vehicle, the Maverick midsize pickup, which is garbage, sorry, and the Bronco Sport, an entry-level SUV, which those are very, very popular, by the way. Those are awesome. I love Ford for making the Bronco, by the way. I love those Broncos. A lot of people don't like them, but I think they look just absolutely fantastic. They're just a spectacular vehicle. They've got the right power plant. They've got the right powertrain. They just hit all the right marks. They look freaking great. I wish I was one of these car enthusiast guys, right? Like one of those auto reviewers or whatever, like Doug DeMuro or something like that. I would love to do that, but I'm not that knowledgeable on cars, but I do love cars. I'm just an idiot when it comes to cars. I do know a little bit about politics, though, just a little bit. Those models accounted for about 17% of Ford's first quarter U.S. sales. The price hike does not mean customers will necessarily pay $2,000 more per vehicle. Retail prices are set across millions of individual negotiations between buyers and dealers, although the MSRP is typically a starting point. Yeah, I don't know if you guys remember, the Bronco did this as well. And what was it? The Ford GT and the Raptor. And I think certain Mustang models, they were all selling well above MSRP, which is absurd. Usually, you go to a dealership to buy a vehicle, and you buy that for less than MSRP through rebates and whatnot, right? But these were selling like, well, sometimes 10 and 15% above MSRP because demand was so high. That's absurd, y'all. Demand is a funny thing when it comes, when you think about it, right? Like, the price can go up just because demand is high. That doesn't make sense to me, but it is how it is. People just like, oh, let's just raise the price because this is in so much demand. We don't have enough supply. But, that's how the market works. I don't know why it works that way. It just does, which is silly in my opinion, because the value of the product doesn't mean that it's higher than what the MSRP is, what the recommended value for whatever it is you're buying doesn't go up because a lot of people want that item, right? So what I'm getting at is its value retained it doesn't go up even though you pay more money for that product. That's what I'm getting at here. That's what doesn't make sense to me. You got to go a little bit deeper on that. I understand how it works and why it works, But it seems kind of like snake in the grass type of stuff going on. They think that just because demand is high, they can raise the price and get more money for it. That's BS in my opinion, because the value doesn't go anywhere just because demand is up. But it is what it is. Money, that's how money works too, folks. That's how money works. Despite the tariff on car imports and an additional tariff on imported parts raising the cost of production, most automakers have been slow to announce price increases pegged to import taxes. That is right, folks. And most of the auto tariffs are getting absorbed by the companies, by the manufacturers. They're absorbing a lot of those tariffs. Once again, though, it is what it is. You can go ahead and say all you want to that tariffs are only paid by American citizens. U.S. tariffs are only paid by you, but that's not necessarily true. And once again, folks, this dips off into the whole tax thing that the left goes on and on about, raising taxes on corporations. We need to tax them through the freaking nose. Well, Donald Trump decides to do that, and they gripe at him for it. Doesn't make sense, does it? Thinking that if he raises taxes on American corporations, the price won't go up? Just saying. Ford said last week it would continue to offer customers the promotional employee pricing through July 4th. Ford says it has a sufficient inventory of vehicles built and imported before tariffs took effect to handle purchases through that date. During a media briefing Monday, Ford CFO Sherry House would not comment on Ford's own pricing plans, but said she didn't expect new car pricing in the United States to increase significantly. Ford itself said it expects the tariffs will cost about $1.5 billion through the rest of the year. We now expect industry pricing related to tariffs to increase about 1 to 1.5% in the second half, she said. What does that tell you, folks? That right there is what the corporate press and Lawrence O'Donnell refuse to tell you. Why is that number not 25%? Just outright. That's what the auto tariff is. If their theory of how tariffs work, that it's only you that pay that, that means the company is just going to shunt that price over onto you. Well, hang on just a second. How come they are only talking about an increase of 1 to 1.5%? It should be just 25%. It shouldn't be variable at all. But it is, because it depends on the product. And they are not passing that tax on to you, folks. They are absorbing that tax. And that is an American company. So Donald Trump is raising the taxes on corporations, and the left are losing their freaking minds about it. This is where we get the logical disconnect. This is where Trump derangement syndrome comes in. Right? These people have Trump derangement syndrome because the logical disconnect between their logic and reality is bigger than the Grand Canyon. It's wider than your mama's legs. Sorry, I had to go there. I couldn't help myself. I apologize for that. I'm not.
Whoops. Whoopsie.
I'm sorry about that. But the logical disconnect is vast. We'll put it that way. So it's like, how do we get these people to come back to reality? It's like, what do you do about Trump? What do we do about Trump? That's the fascinating question. These people, and what's fascinating to me is you go through and you look at the polls. It's mostly boomers that are Trump deranged, like full on, at least stage 2 Trump derangement syndrome. It's mostly boomers, right? Donald Trump got over the line because of Gen Z. That is fascinating, folks. Donald Trump is from the silent generation. Or no, I'm sorry, the greatest generation. I apologize for that. Admonish me in the comments. He's from the greatest generation. He's not a boomer. He's not a Gen X. The greatest generation. He's old. That's what that means, essentially. Sucker's almost 80 years old. And he still runs like a well-oiled machine, mostly. Right? He has his quirks about him, right? But we can all tell. We can all look at Donald Trump talking, blah, 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 ranting on and on and on and on. And he's been like that for decades. I say decades. He's been like that ever since he came into politics. He hasn't changed a damn bit. We haven't seen any cognitive decline. But, that doesn't stop the left because Joe Biden was cognitively deficient. They had to implant that deficiency onto Donald Trump because Joe Biden could not do something bad and Trump do it much better, right? So they had to, boom. That's why they're going on and on about the economy. That is why the very day that Donald Trump took office, all of a sudden, these economists are talking recession. The economy's in this bad state. When just the day before that, 24 hours before, the economy was great. We just handed off to Trump the greatest economy ever. Even though that's just not true. We've been close to recession for a while. It's fluctuated, sure. And they changed I don't know if you guys remember that. They changed the definition of recession. Fascinating, that is, isn't it? But I think I've rambled on for long enough on this one. I want y'all to let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. Let me know what you think about Lawrence over there and his stage 5 terminal Trump derangement syndrome. That's bad, y'all. It really is. There's no cure. I don't think there's still isn't any cure. There isn't any medicine that can ease the symptoms of Trump derangement syndrome. A strong reality check can pull somebody out of pre-Trump derangement syndrome. But once you've gone full TDS, you never go back, folks. But that's all I got on this one. Y'all don't forget to smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new around here and you want more videos like this, because this is what I do. Y'all share this video anywhere and everywhere you can. That is all I got. I want to thank everybody for watching. And you guys, y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.